This will be the first in a series of videos where I build a set of cabinets here in my garage workshop. So if you've ever wanted to watch someone build a set of cabinets, this is what I'll be doing. There are 11 videos in the series. Each of them is about 10 minutes long. And at the beginning of each of the videos, I'll put a number and tell you exactly what's going to be in the video. That way, if you do decide to go down the rabbit hole all the way down, it should be fairly easy to find your way. All of my content is sponsored by shirtpuppy.com. Please do go there and get your shirt on. Let's build some cabinets. The first thing I like to do when I start one of these cabinet build projects is draw everything up in the computer. I use Google SketchUp, and not only will I draw the cabinets in there, but I'll also draw a lot of the materials. This way I can make my cut list for the face frames and the plywood right there in the same drawing. Then I can go ahead and order the materials, and just about all the materials for this project came from Swanee Lumber. All of the face frame material is soft maple. I got 12 boards. They've all got one nice straight edge ripped on them, and they've been milled 13/16. And all of the plywood is pre-finished Chinese birch. Most of it is single side finish, but I did get some double side finish stuff for the shelving, and there's also some single side 1/4 inch stuff for the backs. Now I'm going to throw a couple new blades in my saws and print out the cut list for the face frames. The first thing I'm going to do is cut all of my boards down into sections that are just a few inches longer than the longest lengths that I need. Then I can comfortably rip these to their final widths at the table saw. And I have a range of widths on these face frames from about 1.5 inches up to about 3 inches. I'll first remove the mill cut by making my first rip about 1/4 inch heavy. Then I'll recut that piece to its final width, and I'll just continue cutting as many pieces as I can out of each section. They're long, so the next step will be to cut them down to their actual length and get a nice square edge on both ends. I like to make my marks with a nice sharp lead and just creep up on every cut. Now I'm getting everything laid out for 3 upper face frames, and the procedure here is to get everything laid out so that it looks good, flip it over, mark it for the pocket screws, and then drill all the holes. And I am still rocking the Craig K4 pocket hole jig, probably one of the best jigs ever made. And now it's time for some assembly. It's the exact same thing, just over and over. I start off by doing the glue up. I'll glue both pieces, smear the glue. I'll add the first clamp, then align things. Then I'll add the second clamp, which is a backstop. And then I'll put the inside screw and then the outside screw. And then I'll move on to the next joint and repeat that same procedure. Glue it, smear the glue, clamp it, backstop it, inside screw, outside screw. I've added an extra piece to the middle of these face frames on these 3 upper cabinets because they told me that they were going to really load these shelves up with a lot of weight. And I thought it would be a good idea to run a screw through the back of the shelf front that goes into this part of the face frame for extra support. So normally I wouldn't put this middle section in, but that's the reason I did it. Now on these middle sections, it's not as necessary to backstop. The backstop clamp is there because sometimes the piece wants to move when you start to screw the screw together. I could make an entire video just about pocket screws. I probably will. Now I'm adding the exact amount of glue, just enough, not too much, just enough. Once this thing is all screwed together, there will be a minimal amount of squeeze out, and I'm going to clean that up with a damp rag after each one of these face frames. And there's one more face frame down. All the longer pieces on the left are the sides, and all the shorter pieces are my horizontal pieces. Just sorting through them now. I'm going to go ahead and cut all the longer pieces, square up one end, and then cut them all to length. Now I'll do the same thing with the horizontal pieces. Now I'm just going to lay everything out. The vertical pieces, the most important thing is that the two face frames that come together look good. And then keeping up with the orientation is important because I'm going to flip everything upside down. So I'm going to mark everything and then I'll flip it and then I'll go and drill out for the pocket screws. Very important to keep the orientation the same, or things are not going to look the same when you put it together. My cute little wife made an appearance here. She's letting me know that the towels she ordered, they came, but they're the wrong color. So that happened. The two loose sheets that are on top of the assembly table. It's a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood covered with a sheet of 1/8 inch hardboard. And throughout the build, you'll notice that I move this about the table and clamp different things, the face frames, and then the actual cabinets when I'm assembling the cabinets. So just wanted to point out that these two sheets are very much a functional part of what I'm doing here. Just doing the exact same thing over and over again. All of the upper cabinet face frames are complete. Now I'm going to get started on all the base cabinets. And the procedure is exactly the same. More cutting. More ripping. More laying out. And more flipping. More drilling. More screwing. More tapping. And more gluing. This is how I build face frames. Now I'm going to take these over to my friend Greg's shop and run them through one of his big belt sanders. This usually costs me about $100 depending on how many frames I have. It's well worth it Not only does it greatly reduce the amount of sanding I have to do, but it also takes them all down to the exact same thickness, which is usually right at 3/4 of an inch. Welcome to my home! That's going to wrap things up with number 1. Remember, there are 10 more videos before we get to the bottom of this project. If you've got any comments, questions, or suggestions, please let me know down below.